The Family Court of Brenton, the 31st of September 2021. Matter number MW45B01935, GH22B00978. In the matter of the Children's Minors Act 1989 Section 8 and in the matter of my dearly beloved. Tiffany Smith Moore, date of birth, February the 24th, born approximately 9:30 in the morning, 2012. Beautiful, tremendously talented young bubbly girl, my only child, the apple of my eye. She is all I will leave behind, my sole descendant, and you have unjustly inhibited me from taking care and looking after her, my own precious flesh and blood. Tiffany is all I have, between Mr. George Moore the applicant, and Miss Kelly Smith, the respondent. This is a counter-statement to the second statement of Miss Smith. It will resemble a critique in form, as her fictitious statement deserves counterbalancing with at least a determined line of inquiry moving towards an objective, sensible truth to offer much-needed relief and resolution for all parties concerned. 1 and 2 statements by Miss Smith, not only believing the contents to be true but also tactically knowing that it would eventually be placed before a judge as a substitute for credible authentic evidence. Recommendation. My lord, Miss Smith is a proven pathological liar and an unconvicted fraudster in the way that she has illegally taken my child and home using deliberate systematic disenfranchisement. Telling the truth has not been honored, but it would have been if this criminal offense of perjury was identified and prosecuted with appropriately deserving punishment. Dear Court Bench, Judge Brown, I presume in particular, Miss Smith's stipulations on the Children and Family Court Advisory Support Service CAFCASS are wholly ungrounded for facts. CAFCASS reports are impossible to initiate as I, Tiffany's father, DNA pending of course, has rightly refused to deal with an organization that has an appalling advisory track record and therefore outright bias towards men seeking their parental rights to be upheld. I reserve the right to distrust this advisory board based on their agenda for automatic maternal priority, which is an infringement on my protected characteristics. 3. Degradingly, it is undeniably clear now that Miss Smith has insultingly decided to perceive me only as a mere sperm donor, referring to her turn of phrases such as proposals and final arrangements. This from an obviously unreasonable person who thinks a court-granted non-molestation order NMO can be used to unfairly deprive a decent man of his child and property. If this is not financial, psychological and emotional abuse masquerading as some sort of over-the-top protection, I do not know what to make of this disturbing behavior. Miss Smith has only recently threatened me with yet another NMO, stating that she did not need any evidence to get one granted. Ladies and gentlemen of the bench, this is a misuse of a protection order, undermining its purpose, to protect as a deterrent. Miss Smith certainly does not need protecting from and has at no time required court intervention of this official magnitude. 4. George is my first name that Miss Smith frequently mentions but at the same time over-formally refers to herself as a doctor, almost forgetting that she is a doctor of philosophy, a PhD, and not a doctor of medicine, an MD, which is a highly contentious significant difference, as a medical doctor has obviously much more status and is assumed the declared title. It is not only immodest but also deliberately misleading to not make this clear. 5. Sir, I resent her social climbing status affirmations. It is embarrassing and degrading for me, as if she were an anointed all-powerful queen and I, just a feeble pauper. In awe and utmost reverence to Miss Smith, for this case she can only be the mother of my child. It is not my fault that Miss Smith has delusions of grandeur where her personality insists on recognizing inflated social status. It is narcissistic to keep pushing for special treatment. Please warn Miss Smith, the mother of my beautiful child, to refrain from manipulating the court system to gain favor. The Equality Act should protect me from such blatant misandry and trying to devalue me into a convenient second citizen. Please be aware, and remember my constitutional rights as a man, father, and human being. 6. For the record, sirs and ladies of the bench, Miss Smith does not have the right to remove my daughter from the United Kingdom without my prior consent. I do empathize wholly on compassionate grounds to vent and flout the rules from time to time. But her behavior has involved depriving me of my daughter for many years at a time, with only ever seeing visitation when it had been selfishly convenient for her. Miss Smith lied about allowing me brief unreserved access to my daughter every Sunday in exchange for her sudden international itineraries. The access was often deliberately made difficult to arrange, cancelled over trivia, or impossibly inflexible. Recommendations. Could not this withholding of a child for no particularly serious reason of safeguard be prosecuted as a form of psychological, emotional abuse? Having only exercised sole custody out of spite and then to expect her behavior to be state-condoned is unforgivably deplorable. Judge Brown, so you must be a wise man to understand that of course I did not participate in CAFCASS meetings because I am obviously not mentally ill or disturbed, or I would have been sectioned. My fitness to be restricted to fleetingly see my beautiful beloved daughter under supervision for no rational reason, at least once a week, should at no time require a formal investigation if I have no records relating to anything remotely untoward or sinister. Put me in handcuffs and leg braces for all I care, just let me see my daughter please. Unfortunately, Miss Smith is so arrogant and contemptuous that line has been abundantly selected to manipulate the court, with the court astonishingly believing her ungrounded dishonest fears, narrations and anxieties over the immediate priority and responsibility of fairness, equality between the sexes and objectivity to serve dignity and respect for all involved. Recommendations. Would it not be suitable to start holding Miss Smith accountable anytime she dares to commit perjury? Sir, CAFCASS have an agenda to serve the mother as a priority party. They would take my dismissing of them as hiding something about my personality which is painting me in a bad light. When I honestly do not see the benefit of this support or intervention apart from deliberately probing for reasons, this habit of hypersensitively gathering information to compile a case to deny access or severely restrict it for any out-of-context reason, thus making the situation far worse. Miss Smith's unscientific or pseudo-conviction on insisting that I medicate for some imaginary illness is puzzling. I am over 50 years of age with no ongoing psychiatric evaluation for harming myself or anyone else. It is bizarre how she is taken seriously without beyond the shadow of a doubt indelible evidence put before the court for weighed-up scrutiny. I have at no time been prognosed, diagnosed or treated for any mental illness. No general practitioner has at any time felt concerned enough to be compelled to prescribe mood-stabilizing medication to I. Recommendations. Judge Brown, please warn Ms. Smith of her fanciful and exaggerated assumptions and allegations designed only to defame my character and reputation. This is a comprehensive exploitation of her status and title, being a trained social scientist, which is incidentally an official pseudo for science and therefore lacking in recognition due to failing any acceptable clinical objectivity during controlled experiments, but more for assuming speculations based on societal trends, generalizations and stereotypes. So please empathize with me. How would you feel and behave if someone you were once intimate with suddenly manipulated the judicial system to legally, as if, take away your child? You would probably be more than distraught over the dire injustice. The emotional turmoil may even have managed to ruin your productivity, especially if one had not been mentally strong enough to cope, horrified that someone could have the reckless audacity to betray you in a state court for selfish, illegitimate parental and financial gains. My good mental health. A quote from Miss Smith's disturbing second statement. This made-up false narration allowed Miss Smith to influence the previous ruling. It was nonsense because she had no way of knowing and therefore definitely made it all up. What about Miss Smith's mental health? Surely to be a malignant pathological liar she must have some sort of psychotic disposition. Miss Smith is clearly self-centered and entitled. In God's name, man, where is the evidence? Recommendations. Miss Smith should be at least rebuked for spreading malicious lies about my health, which by the way is absolutely normal or fine. 9. I would just like to reiterate that Tiffany, my amazing daughter, has at no time been in any danger during my tender protective care of her. Miss Smith made up stories because she has an inability to accept rejection and get on with her life without destroying mine via ostracization. 10. The addendum report. Back from CAFCASS. Analysis. I at no time engaged in the CAFCASS process due to the legitimate reasons above. CAFCASS are searching for an incriminating viewpoint, and on refusing to cooperate, have used my rightful protest to suggest ignorance, omission and guilt. So even dangerous prisoners are better treated than this, with the right to see their children at regular intervals during their sentences. Tiffany is and always will be my daughter. It is an eternal bond that can at no time be severed. In time my daughter will realize her mother's hate-motivated plots to learn the sensible truth, that I just wanted to have the opportunity to love, protect and nurture my only dear child the best way I could have. Not in Miss Smith's case, where it is what she can afford exclusively within the limits of her culture, tradition, customs and secular status as a member of the non-religious, non-observant Jewish faith community. 11. CAFCASS reports should have very little impact or significance on your decision, sir, due to my well-explained uncooperative stance, meaning hardly any admitting of information for submission. If you, the bench, want to talk or hastily cross-examine, then do so directly yourselves without CAFCASS, this biased, unwelcome third party affecting my dignity with presumptions, assumptions and ill-judged conclusions with very little hard evidence to rely upon. I only requested supervised, once-a-week visits, not all this drama, sir. Frankly, I am disturbed by the insinuating CAFCASS interview process where Miss Smith's account is believed verbatim without even being formally challenged for clear fabricating. It would not be too difficult for me to perform in a good light for CAFCASS to inspire a good court report, but this is the very reason why subjective CAFCASS involvement and politically correct, emotionally led reports are so highly resented and despised. 12. Thoughts on the Section 7 report on the 1st of June 2020 issued by CAFCASS over 18 months ago. CAFCASS have spitefully influenced a no-access decision to unreasonably violate my human right to a family. This is state emotional abuse in an effort to be seen to overprotect an unharmed child that has never needed protection, especially from me. The system is aiding and abetting an out-of-control mother, giving in to her demands to leave me broken and deprived of my beloved daughter, my only family in this greedy, cruel, judgmental, indifferent world. I reserve the right to dismiss the third-party CAFCASS whether they have been installed by the court or not, if they are not engaged constructively for whatever reason. For the record, it is not only unconstitutional but also illegal to deny access to children without indelible, non-circumstantial evidence to prove beyond any doubt that there is harmful, insidious wrongdoing. There is nothing there, and still I have been forced to wait for years with no sign of clemency. Why am I being denied? This is completely immoral and unethical to continue with these draconian misandrous procedures. 13. The aftermath of the hearing on the 1st of March 2021. To date, Miss Smith has gone out of her way to ignore my pleas to see my wonderful daughter on a regular basis. Every Sunday had been suggested. Regretfully, the evidence seems to point towards an enraged emotional abuser who has pathologically lied to dominate custody by unjustly gaining the seemingly feminine sympathies of the court, perverting its decisions. It seems at times Miss Smith has conveniently taken leave of her senses, implying a total lack of self-awareness, common sense and empathy. Miss Smith lied to you, Judge Brown. Straight after agreeing to be reasonable by setting up regular much-needed meetings, she continued to gather inappropriate subjective twisted data to strengthen a case against limited, restricted, infrequent contact. This is psychotic behavior, sir. Please do not support this calculating and manipulative woman heaven bent on taking my daughter away and stealing my property, my home. Recommendations. Could not Miss Smith be at least warned of her deceptive behavior if not prosecuted for causing so much upheaval and disenfranchisement? 14. Explaining these multiple email addresses and unfounded allegations. I refuse to accept Miss Smith's ludicrous attempts at flimsily suggesting that I had been using different aliases to make myself more elusive. This is not logical when if I wanted to avoid Miss Smith I could have immediately reported her email address as spam, which would have stopped her transmitting direct electronic mail. This patterns mention on her statement. Members of the bench, please. Miss Smith is hypersensitive and continues to clutch at straws, gathering data for yet more misinterpretations. Recommendations. Miss Smith is misleading the court and should be rightfully reprimanded for gross perjury, a prime criminal offense. 15. Miss Smith's statement of blaming me for the impact of inconsistent contact. When it has always been her responsibility as the unfair but legal guardian and gatekeeper to fairly allow access where it is at all possible. Recommendations. So let Miss Smith be prosecuted for continuing to make up malicious stories which are ungrounded. She regularly sabotages access for really petty reasons. The whole state intervention is shambolic disgrace. George did not turn up on one occasion. This was completely taken out of context. That particularly day she was being deliberately cantankerous and antagonistic. As a man I am expected to somehow naturally rail against the bombardment of false accusations. Guilty until proven innocent like a suspect. It is obvious by now that Miss Smith is a cold calculating liar and far too entitled and supported by a politically correct pro-feminist judicial system to give up the truth. Justice, do not make me laugh. Being abusive towards me, when I message him. So let us remember what she had done, kidnapped a child and stolen a property. In the context of any reactionary responses, Miss Smith has forced me to be estranged from my dearly beloved daughter and as a result destitute. This unreasonable provocation through wealth and child deprivation has inflicted emotional, psychological abuse for some years now. What the hell do you expect? Euphoria. 16. Quoting again from Miss Smith's erroneous statement. More frequent expectation disappointment cycle. Him I do not know. Is this some kind of academic pseudo-theory? No more credible than believing in God, sir, and on it goes. Which is psychologically harmful as stated in the CAFCASS report. For the record, I had at no time attended any CAFCASS interviews. Again, sir, bench, this is complete biased claptrap. Her scheming, social climbing and elitism is the root cause of I being almost completely forced out of Tiffany's life. She had previously kicked me out of our mortgaged home and successfully. I am not paying the civil service for this. Stop letting me see my daughter for many, many years. Imagine the pain and suffering endured from those thoughtless tyrannical state sanctions. I am not expertly analyzing, just speculating, but Miss Smith appears to express covered narcissistic traits through her malignant sadistic actions. She does not want me in Tiffany's life unless I can be funding, controlled and passive or castrated. If this is not possible, she would rather that I just disappeared as a derogatory deadbeat dad syndrome tag. Which does not exist in reality, it is just a feminist label to direct hate and resentment at men. To reinforce a false relationship story of this struggle of a strong, brave, lovable, so much to give back to society broke but on the up, single mum, holding it all together purely on willpower and being kind. What a crock of baloney. Miss Smith just wants my finances and little else. Her declaration that she wants me in Tiffany's life is a lie, and an Oscar-winning performance with tears and cries for Judge Brown's to make a detrimental terrible decision to start a social cancer. Her true agenda or objective has been to charm and manipulate the court in order for it to grant an order designed to extract as much finance from me as possible. Maybe she will hit the jackpot and I will be run down enough to even kill myself after losing everything. Miss Smith deserves being responded to harshly after continuing to deny access and refusing to settle and resolve this contentious issue for more than 5 years now. Again, sir, there is no critical evidence that my gifted, immensely talented daughter Tiffany is urgently in need of any reassurances. This is a hysterical, over-the-top protective female stance from a woman that knows the system is on her side. I am fatigued with the unsolicited assumptions that I am somehow still able to have a significant negative effect upon my beloved child even when I have been clearly removed by the state from her life. Recommendations. Miss Smith is committing perjury by making up a false unverifiable story. She should be jailed for justice to prevail with a landmark decision against gender bias. What about fathers and men's rights? 18. George has good days and bad days. Oh my god, man, everyone including Miss Perfect Smith has good, bad and ugly days. 19. Of course I completely comprehend my daughter's need for consistent and meaningful contact. Why oh why do I now need to make frigging appointment to be with my own I assume, biological daughter? What is the meaning of this, sir? It is strangely abnormal. Miss Perfect Smith stresses the importance of planned appointments and schedules. However, when I had been in my daughter's life as a present father, not just at Christmas, appointments were not necessary. I do not see any difference now unless Miss Perfect Smith is trying to conceal her private life, which I could not care less about at all, would you? Nevertheless, I resent the sudden formal way of socializing now that conveniently has estranged me from my precious sweet child for years at a time. Appointments are just another excuse to cancel contact. Surely I should be able to see my own beautiful daughter whenever the opportunity arises, not when Miss Smith expects me to visit briefly according to her one-sided schedule. The visits are always on her terms. Miss Smith is evidently selfish and inconsiderate. To conclude, it is inappropriate for me to be held to schedules if I am sporadically busy. 20. Quality of interaction. I reject this criticism. So far, all interaction has been really great for Tiffany and I. His past abusive behavior towards me. Abuse is a two-way street. Miss Smith shrewdly stole my home and cunningly kidnapped our only daughter through the judicial system. What kind of response would you expect, sir? Perhaps a, well done, cheery bravo, or maybe even a friendly pat on the back. Miss Smith is out of control and should be locked up for taking advantage of the archaic court rule book with an unrelenting genderized victimhood. 21. Miss Smith has continually been monitoring me and admitted as much with her filming not the best of times without knowledge. Where does Miss recording anything Smith get away with monitoring me? For what, sir? I would like an order put in place to stop Miss Smith prying when I am interacting with my involuntarily estranged daughter. I have a right to privacy and confidentiality like anybody else. This is hysteria. Miss Smith is hysterical. 22. Communication. Miss Smith's concerns are unfounded. I am appalled by her lies, omissions and exaggerations. Again, after making sure of the contents, her statements are untrue. George's actions or behavior are. Remember, I am not in the picture anymore, she continues. Compromising Tiffany's well-being. Including the one above. I do not understand why these statements are not analyzed for validity. There is no evidence for this statement. It is trying to suggest a connection that does not exist. A theory without any practical follow-through to indicate clinical proof of a relationship. 23. Answering the allegations of contacting the headmistress. Yes, sir, I contacted the headmistress of Paradismo Primary School and you know where my beloved is attending. As a father, I was being a concerned parent. You know, like asking the head how she was doing and what about it. I declared to the headmistress that Miss Smith was a pathological liar after all the things she had said about me. Concerns about insight, impulsivity and ability to behave. Perjury, sir. Again, this is made up of complete pseudo-made-up nonsense. The thrusted upon. Prohibited steps. Has little or nothing to do with my position as a bewildered, disillusioned, frustrated, estranged father. Again, it is not transparent enough that the court is dealing with a hypersensitive, over-controlling, money-grabbing woman. My behavior cannot compromise Tiffany's safety or well-being. How is this possible, Judge Brown? Miss Smith's statement is far-fetched fluff, and proves that she is an emotional abuser who knows how to exercise discreet cutting passive aggressiveness to manifest victimhood within the legal boundaries, but still, if all upheld, serves only rough justice. 24. Exert his control and power over me by refusing to consent to any requests that I make to take Tiffany outside of the United Kingdom. So please tell me, how am I able to exert control and power over Miss Smith? It is Miss Smith playing the victim again, this in a bid to sway your decision and wrongly influence the bench. Miss Smith has deprived me of my beloved, instantly destroying my quality of life. It is she that employs malicious, underhanded tactics to disintegrate my sense of meaning by all these emotional, poor me, power plays underlaid with level 7 academic credentials. For the record, Miss Smith has absolutely no legal right, without my consent, to leave London, England with my beautiful daughter at any time for any reason. It is my paternal right. You had no right, sir, to grant anything of the sort and to give in to her requests, or should I type demands. By allowing Miss Smith to manipulate the system automatically infringes on my protected human rights, sir. For her to unfairly deny access and then to be allowed to take our daughter abroad whenever the fancy takes her is rewarding female abusive behavior. I, at no time, have given permission for any trips abroad. Unreasonable that it may seem, but not when Miss Smith has deviously deprived me of my beloved for many years to intentionally inflict so much psychological and emotional damage. It is an abuse of power to waiver my rights like this. I do not agree and have never given consent. Where has my daughter been all these years, sir? The misery is crippling with the legal onslaught, stigma and humiliation of being an estranged father over rubbish. 25. Control and punish me, to cause as much financial damage as he can. How now, brown cow, sir? I wish I could do all those things and more, but it is Miss Smith doing all these things because she is the only one with the money to do so. It is clear that she is punishing and financially burdening herself by hiring expensive solicitors and refusing to mediate. This would have released me from her restrictive control backed up by the law, also known as the strongly resented and bafflingly inadequate knights in shining armor-esque police. 26. The reality so far is, Miss Smith has taken full control of our property by inappropriately using a non-molestation order to have had me forcibly evicted from it. This overnight automatically stopped me seeing my daughter, with the family court imposing sanctions over the next few years which completely squeezed me out of her life altogether. Stuff your stupid system, sir. Stick it where the sun does not possibly shine. Enough of this traditional classist chivalry. You are so out of touch to be on another planet left alone country. Surely an example of unnecessary, destructive, controlling behavior. The hypocrisy could not be anticipated or imagined. Why would I faithfully agree for Miss Smith to take my daughter to a faraway land? Why? 27. Statement 91120 response. An S9114 of the Children's Act 1989. 1. Allows family courts to bar individuals from making further specified applications under the Children's Act 1989 without permission of the court. 2. These orders are known as Section 9114 orders or barring orders. Judge Brown, this is preposterous. Miss Smith is certainly not a victim of domestic violence and has never been at the hands of an abusive ex-partner. She is not being dragged back to court for reconciliation, therefore under no circumstances should she qualify for an S9114. My C100 applications are specifically to gain equal custody of my beloved not to be used as a form of, heaven forbid, domestic abuse. Please, as a father, I would just like to be allowed to see my missing daughter on a regular basis. 3. I was at no time an abusive partner. This is outrageous as Miss Smith is able to deceive the system with false incriminating data. 4. In applying for custody through AC100 there is a reasonable purpose, to see my involuntarily separated amazing daughter on a routine weekly basis. Recommendations. Miss Smith must not at any time be granted a barring order based on the truth that A. She was at no time domestically abused with no police reports, social worker or probation papers inferring this disposition. B. There are reasonable grounds to see and be part of my daughter's life. C. A barring order would wrongly and unfairly infringe on my human right to a family which must be respected. 28. The Domestic Abuse Act. Miss Smith has at no time to my knowledge been domestically violated. Again, I have a right to a family. She is not allowed to steal my daughter using excessive perjury to get her own way regardless. 29. Miss Smith is only speculating whether or not my daughter is impacted negatively. My wonderful daughter has at no time expressed any negativity from anything that I have done. I cannot be sure, but like me, my absence must probably be one of the saddest things to emotionally impact on her tender mind. 30. Miss Smith's high level of anxiety and alleged debt are neither my responsibility nor my fault. She had stolen the property which is still in both our names. Having been hounded out of my own home with pneumonia in the rain one freezing winter night with the usual threat of calling the police, etc. Maybe she was trying to kill me. I have at no time been asked to intervene with our mortgage or set up a buy-to-let scheme because she has blatantly disenfranchised me. And now refuses to move out or admit and resolve the ongoing dispute. I cannot believe what she is doing and getting away with it because of this idiotic system. Our daughter has nothing to do with it. And should not be used as leverage to steal property, money or possessions. I do not understand why Miss Smith expects me to walk away from a property investment. Just because we had a child. I do not get that one at all, but the moronic state will give her another restraining order and escalate it in the name of what? Social funking justice. I do not compute this liberal drivelly bollocks. This is selfishness, and to use Tiffany as the reason, why does not Miss Smith move out for her daughter to inherit the property then? This is blatant disenfranchisement. I never signed up or agreed to lose my daughter or home. The state is so useless to be insane in their thinking. Anti-men or what? Stop relationships and state-registered marriages now. Protest against the state regime that can destroy your life at the signal of a woman. Please condemn or at least disapprove property grabbing. Completely inept. I believe that Miss Smith is not completely being honest. If she is in debt, it is her fault and responsibility, not mine, sir. 31. A court order for I to pay for Miss Smith's legal costs, as if she wishes, not likely, dream on, I would rather leave the country, this excuse for a society than ever do that for her. So this is obviously completely insane. Why should I have to pay for her legal costs? She has chosen a solicitor to deliberately be cantankerous and unreasonable in freely spending thousands of pounds to guarantee no legal custody or visitation rights for I, and what about the property? Her solicitors were working against me, and now Miss Smith expects me to pay for their inflated services. This is madness, an absurdity if there is a cost order against I for working against a reasonable mediated settlement. Miss Smith is obviously to blame for her own incurred costs. She has at no time needed the hiring of a £500 an hour shark of a family solicitor. I heard that she has already spent £8,000 to this arse of a solicitor when no female really needs representation for family court because it is geared to helping mothers. I needed one, but I knew it would have been a waste of money. Funny that how she messed up there. Look here, I am a decent, reasonable man who will always be open to compromise and compassion, but Miss Smith has failed time and time again to act with any sort of amicable logic fashion. She just takes and thinks that it is all fair square. 32. In summarizing then, A. There should be no order deciding where my daughter lives or chooses to live. B. An order should be granted to me for rightful quality time with my daughter. Why should it, time with my daughter, have to be agreed upon or supervised? This is hysteria if there is no actual track record. Nothing so harmfully untoward has ever happened to my daughter in my care. There are no unfalsified testimonies. There is absolutely no reason for any of these measures or restrictions. It is an abomination the way the courts are so draconian. C. Why should a court order remain in place to this day? What for? This prohibited steps malarkey. This is Google de Gook after so many years of deprivation. A ridiculous suggestion. Whatever for Sir. Miss Smith just wants absolute control. There is no reason for such an order, and at no time will it be beneficial to any of us in the end. D. The request for the court ordering the removal of YouTube videos including kidnapping children through the family court and property theft is an infringement of my human right to protest, especially if there is no slander or libel involved. The truth is only ever expressed. Miss Smith does not have the right to privacy or censorship when, in reality, she has caused so many deep and ongoing emotional and financial problems. Miss Smith is forbidden from taking my baby girl abroad. This is non-negotiable. Please respect my will and nothing is done again about her recent trip abroad. I am sick of her cockiness. F. The S9114 order is for domestic violence victims. No reasons are appropriate for this order at any time. Therefore, it would be unsuitable. G. Paying any legal costs for Miss Smith are obviously rejected. I did not force her to hire an expensive solicitor, nor did I make her resist mediation moving towards joint custody. She chose to pay a solicitor to erroneously get her own way. Well, she got custody unfairly with a huge legal bill. It is silly to have to pay for a legal team was working for the respondent's cause. I have no finances anyway, please warn. Miss Smith and I once used to lovingly call this woman Smithy, of her position as the respondent. I would at no time agree to spend money on solicitors who have made my life a living hell in successfully severing the emotional bonds and ties between I and my only brainwashed, by her propaganda-triggered mother, child. Please reprimand Miss Smith for breaching the judicial rules and regulations. I believe that the so-called facts stated in Miss Smith's statement are exaggerations without the origins of their emotional manifestations. Dated the 5th of August, 2021.